musical chairs with me, Cheer Up Charlie. And today we have the amazing, the wonderful. He's a singer, he's an actor, he's a presenter, he's an interviewer, he's a receptionist, he's a man of words, and he's just an all-round amazing man. He's Tom Reed Wilson, everybody!
Oh, Charlie. What a fanfaronade. That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much. So, if you're ready, I'll get right into the questions.
I'm so ready. I'm braced.
What started off your love of musical theatre and the arts, especially because coming from a family of teachers?
Yes, well, in a funny sort of way, that had something to do with it because they used to put on, my dad taught at a school called Pangbourne College.
Yeah.
And they used to put on wonderful productions. There was a wonderful head of music at the time called Bob Barsby. And he was a good friend of my family's. And sometimes, I guess because, teenagers were playing adults and sometimes quite elderly people, to give the illusion of greater age on their part, they would sometimes get younger children from the college campus to play their children. So I played a little boy in South Pacific who was the son of the romantic lead. And I was only, I think, 8 at the time. And I still remember I had to sing in French. I had to sing, Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est belle. Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est gaie. And I remember the whole song and everything that we had to do in that way that you do when you're very young. It becomes indelibly seared on your mental retina. And I was just mad about Rodgers and Hammerstein ever after that. That was kind of the beginning. And then I devoured Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, Sound of Music and Oklahoma and Carousel. And I'm actually going to see South Pacific next week at Chichester because they're doing a huge, stonking great revival. And I just did.
Yeah, I heard about it on the radio.
Did you, Charlie? Do you listen to Elaine Page's show on Mondays?
Sometimes, yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
I have listened to it sometimes since I was on it.
Oh, were you on it? Oh, well, you're one up on me, Charlie. Goodness. That's fantastic. Oh, no, I was on it once. I was on it once when I was presenting the What's on Stage Awards. But, oh, gosh, good for you. Good for you. Well, I hope you get to go and see it. I'm making a mini sort of sojourn out of it next weekend.
Awesome. So you come from Berkshire, which is where I live, but I know you trained.
Do you? I didn't know that. Where are you in Berkshire?
So I've just moved from Wokingham.
Oh, fabulous theatre there. I just the last thing I saw there was West Side Story with my dear friend Dom Hodson and my other very good friend Harriet Thorpe, whom I know you know, is just about to do pantomime there.
Awesome.
With Gokwan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I live there, but I know you trained at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music. But the more I speak and research, the more I realize that the arts training isn't cheap, and I already see the sacrifices my parents make for me. Do you think more needs to be done to help those with immense talent get the training they deserve? Because my dream is to set up a foundation that gets children who would never have the chance to spend the day with professionals so they can experience the arts.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that there are schools like the Royal Academy where if you can't afford to go, and I certainly couldn't, then it's all dependent on philanthropy. And that's a lot of work. In fact, it's so much work that it took me the whole year that I was at the Academy and beyond to continue to raise the money to go. And I was given money by Zoe Wanamaker. You know, I don't know if you know that wonderful actor. You might have seen My Family. Oh, and she plays the Quidditch mistress in Harry Potter.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and she does a lot on stage. She's wonderful on stage. I think she probably does more on stage. And the John Thor Foundation and oh gosh, who else gave me money? Lots of people did. Oh, the Purbeck Singers Association, which was the very last one I received, which was about 3 months after I'd finished at the academy. So I'd completed my training. I was still paying them. So yes, it's I think that there need to be more schemes, I think, from the state. And I think that the state are not great, especially at the moment, at funding the arts. And this is in terms of the whole profession, too. You know, it truly, statistically, is a fact that there is no profession that lines the coffers more than the arts. And for every pound that's spent on a theatre ticket, three are spent on neighbouring businesses. And it so augments and so bolsters the economy. And when the theatre lands on hard times and the theatre is threadbare, it's never given back. You know, it's always the first thing to be cut. It's the same in America with the endowment for the arts. It's always the first thing to be trimmed because people think of it as something frivolous, but they forget that it's the only thing that receives public funding that gives back in spades, in spades. And so
Mhm.
we need to really furnish the arts as much as
Yeah,
we can.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what was your first big break?
Oh gosh. Well, I suppose really it was The Voice. I was doing a play in a lovely theatre in Windsor. It's the theatre where, at the moment, Ian McKellen is playing Hamlet. And
Woo!
I was doing a terrible play called Sweet Revenge, and I was a very unlikely uh, murder suspect. And I hasten to add, I was meant to be unlikely, but I was nevertheless very unlikely. And there was one scene where I had to sort of make it seem convincing, and I think everybody thought, oh no, I don't think he could have done it. But I was secretly, I decided during that run I've got to somehow penetrate the upper echelons. I'm sort of bumbling along as a jobbing actor, and I need to do something a little bit bold and intrepid. So I secretly auditioned for The Voice, and I had about 7 auditions that summer. And eventually, I got to sing before the cameras and before the judges, and I flopped terribly, but the people that made the show were very kind to me and they forewarned me. They said, normally, if you flop, you may end up on the cutting room floor altogether, or they might play 2 or 3 minutes of you, maybe a piece of your song or something. And they were so generous to me. They played 8 minutes of me, my whole song, my interview, my backstory, my exchange with the judges, everything. And because of
Wow.
that, the lady, Frankie Nicol, a very brilliant casting director, was creating or helping create Celebs Go Dating. And she saw it and she said, well, we want someone sort of jolly hockey sticks and a bit silly. So would you like to come in and talk to us? And so I had to talk to camera in a little studio for about an hour with them and the man that created it, a lovely man by the name of Phil Harris. And they said again, they said, we don't really know what we want you to do. So we won't interfere with you. You'll just talk to people. And if we like it, we'll keep bits of it. And if we don't like it, you'll end up on the cutting room floor and no one will ever know you were there. And I thought, oh, how lovely, because I can't really then go wrong, because if I do go wrong, no one will see me. So I thought
Hmm.
it was a very liberating notion somehow, Charlie.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you've just also answered my question five,
Oh,
which
what was that?
which is the next question after the question I'm about to ask you, which is what on earth possessed you to go on The Voice?
Well, I suppose that was why. And also, there was a funny old thing. I mean, the theatre's changed a lot since I graduated from the Royal Academy in the most wonderful way, because there weren't shows like everybody's talking about Jamie and
Mhm.
Dear Evan Hansen, and um, shows that were more celebratory of diversity.
Yeah.
And so, what tended to happen to me was that I would play character parts in plays, and I might sing in concerts occasionally, but I would very rarely, unless I was playing a big character part in a pantomime, sing and act together.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, maybe it would help if I did something that was sort of singing orientated. And
Yeah.
so that's what led me to the voice, really.
Mm.
And I thought it would be maybe a foolish, maybe a sage thing to do, but I sort of thought I won't know until I have a little go. So I
Mhm.
did. I did, for better or worse. But it worked out. It worked out to be amazing. And actually, flopping on it worked out to be amazing, because
Mhm.
had I carried on with that series, I wouldn't have been free to do Celebs Go Dating. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's very serendipitous, these things that happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's always been an accident with me. Everything has been a fortuitous accident.
Awesome. So, you've been performing for years, but the nation fell in love with you as the receptionist on Celebs Go Dating. Did you expect to get the reaction off the public that you have?
No, no, I didn't at all. And I was really cutting my teeth. And as I say, I didn't know what they might use. So
Hmm.
I didn't know what people would like, and I didn't even know what the edit would like. What the people that were sort of cutting it um, thought would tickle them and things like that. So I was really learning as I went along. And I even remember having a meeting around the beginning of series two, and I said to the producer, I said, "Does it matter that I don't know who anyone is? When they come through the door?" And I mean, now I'm much better. I do know who most people are, but they said, "No, it tickles us. It's fine. Don't do your homework." So I was learning as I went along the whole time, really. Now I actually do a lot of homework so that I know what their interests are and what makes them tick. Um, but uh, but that's because I want it to be stimulating for them too. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So, how on earth did you come up with word of the day as well as your interviews, where you've spoken with people I can only dream of?
Oh, Charlie. Well, um, word of the day. I remember when I started in television. My agent at that time said, you must do something with social media, because you're beginning to get a following and you need to entertain them. And I said, well, I don't much care for it. So I said, I need a really good incentive to get on there, and
Hmm.
actually engage with it. Because still, really, I sort of do my bit and then I won't really look at it very much.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I remembered, a friend reminded me that whenever I was in a play, I used to do a word of the day with the company.
Hmm.
And we would set ourselves a challenge of trying to use it in context about 3 or 4 times that day before the performance in the evening. And I thought, well, I could just do that. And then over time, I realized that my young audience was augmenting a great deal. And I thought, well, actually, I mustn't just do it in a frivolous way where I pick a lovely word and just say what it means. I must actually be a bit more rigorous and look at the etymology and
Hmm.
look at the provenance of it and see if it leads into any other words. Because sometimes I do, can I? It's just an anatomical word, but can I give you an example? It's a tiny bit naughty.
Okay.
Um, you can close your ears if you, or mummy and daddy can block your ears if it's too naughty. But do you know the word testicle?
Yes.
Okay, well, testicles very interesting because um, it comes from the root testis, meaning to witness. And it's in testify and testimony and attest and all those words that mean really to witness something. And I
Hmm.
thought, isn't it curious that it's in testicle? What's that got to do with witnessing? And it's because actually I've just realized that it is too naughty to say, but basically it's a little witness to what's going on down there when it happens.
Hmm.
And so sometimes there's a very tenuous link,
Yeah.
but it helps you remember the spelling of the word and the meaning of the word forever and ever.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. So, hashtag Chirp Charlie was born 2 years ago now due to the bullying I received for my love of dance and song, particularly because I don't fit the stereotype of what boys should do. I was physically and mentally bullied, but part of me now wants to say thank you to the bullies for giving me the strength to make a stand. And I'm now a proud recipient of a Diana Award this year as a future change maker. How do you think we can
Bravo, Charlie! Bravo!
Thank you. So, how do you think we can change the negative behavior that seems to evolve, unfortunately, from the adults around them?
I think uh, I think everything begins with education,
Mm-hmm.
at a really, really young age.
Yeah.
And I think this is true of everything that most blights the world. I think if you made a list of the top three or four things that really blight the world, it would be things like climate change, um, prejudice, um, bullying, as you say. And all of these things start when you start to perceive a sort of us and the world, a kind of othering. Like it, it's fine because what's happening with the planet is happening over there. It's not happening in my garden. It's fine because that person's different to me. They are other. They are. I'm not like them, so I'm safe because I don't have to experience their dismissal. And education has to be the way to combat that. And the way to do that
Mm-hmm.
is to teach people about how the planet works, how it functions, the interdependence of nature and humanity. And in terms of prejudice of all kinds, it has to start with augmenting our history. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we need to study things that the way John Gielgud was treated in the 50s when he was taken to court um, for his homosexuality, and then
Mm-hmm.
he received a standing ovation in Liverpool when he went back into the theatre. We need to look at writers like Radcliffe Hall, the lesbian writer who jolly nearly had the Well of Loneliness banned. We need to look at our checkered history in the world and the way that we plundered nations and took many things that were valuable to them
Mm-hmm.
and brought them back to our country. And all of our education mustn't just be the rosy bits of our history. Um, it's got to be a full, rich tapestry, and
Yeah.
then we will understand the nature of prejudice at a much, much, much younger age. And I think that is the only way to stop bullying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like, literally, we went over to other countries and just said, we now own you.
Exactly, exactly, Charlie.
Like,
And also in terms of queer history, that was extremely damaging too, because if you look at a country like India, um, they have had anti-gay laws for much, much longer than we had, but we put them there.
mm-hmm.
There was um, there was a man called Thomas Macaulay who authored a piece of legislation that meant that the Homosexual Act would have you incarcerated for 14 years. And that went through all of those countries that were part of the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And that law remains in something like 40 of them. It's not been repealed. And yet we have evolved and we've moved on, but the stamp that we've left hasn't
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Yep.
And countries like India, they had a third gender before we came along, a recognized third gender.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot more fluidity and a lot more um, uh, freedom, really,
Yeah.
and we impeded all of that. So I think that we have a great responsibility
Mm-hmm.
in the lessons that we teach and the stories that we tell to make sure that we're not always squeaky clean,
Yeah.
because we certainly aren't, and then we will understand where gay prejudice comes from and where racial prejudice comes from.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, have you ever suffered any form of bullying, either as a child or in the industry?
Yes, I have. I have a great deal. Was bullied a lot at school because I always was very androgynous. And androgynous in my case meant gay to them. And it doesn't always, but in my case, they were absolutely right. Um, and so many synonyms for gay, many kind of unpleasant synonyms, some of which we've kind of reclaimed now. But they were leveled at me most days when I was just sort of walking about. And I had a dear chum who was also quite effeminate, and we'd often walk about together, and so the abuse would be leveled at us together. It was mostly verbal, occasionally physical. But the last time it happened to me, funnily enough, was quite recently. And, now I have a little bit more of a voice, for better or worse. I don't mean a public voice, but just a bit more spunk, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking through Stockwell, where I used to live, and it was a very, very cold day. In fact, it was snowing, and there were a group of guys outside the local newsagents, and they brought a big box of eggs, and anyone that was distasteful to them, they would hurl an egg at like a missile. And they threw this egg with a sort of homophobic accompaniment. And it hit me on the back of the neck. And because it was so cold, it actually sliced my neck because it had sort of hardened the shell. And all this egg white kind of trickled down my back and turned into an icicle. And I remember being so cross, Charlie, that I spun around against my better judgment and I said, I bet it's not even free range. And they looked completely aghast. They actually looked terrified. But yeah, so that was the last time, and that was probably. I mean, you always get it a little bit, yeah, but that was the last major incident, and I think that was about 5 years ago. So I guess it continues, but now it truly, I'm not just being a brave boy saying this, but now it's water off a duck's back. Because the thing is, I guess the secret is that if you're proud of the thing that they're insulting you for, then it can't hurt you, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And and so uh, I guess that's what you learn. I began in I mean, you're way ahead of me in terms of wisdom for your years because I was nowhere near as wise as you at your age. But
Thank you.
when I think I began to learn that at about 16, I sort of thought, oh, all the things that they're teasing me for, my plumminess, my effeminacy, my uh, whatever it might be. Um, if I own them, if I really wear them with pride and don't try and tuck them into the inside of my jacket, the lining of my blazer, but actually reverse it and wear it on the outside,
Hmm.
then they can't do it because I will be peacocking with the very things that they
Hmm.
find distasteful.
Yeah, definitely. So my dream was always to be a West End star, but now it's to be a presenter and interviewer. As
Oh,
that
well, I
seems.
mean, you're going great guns, Charlie. You're already doing it, for heaven's sake.
Thank you. And this seems to be how your career has shifted too. Obviously, we both still love doing the performing in that, but you also do your amazing interviews, as I've spoken about. So, do you still want to be on the stage singing? Because I think Tom Talks has a great ring to it as a chat show, but for me as a sidekick,
Oh, from your lips to someone's ears, Charlie, I'd love to do it with you.
yeah.
In fact, I think if I did do something like that, I'd love to do it with a chum, with someone by me, someone very divergent who had a slightly different perspective.
Mhm.
And I think that would be very, very lovely because when you can genuinely bounce off someone
Yeah.
who has a different take on life, that's incredibly stimulating.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I've got no great hankering to do things on my own in a way because that's the joy of of working in television for me is bouncing off people.
Mhm.
And that's my favorite thing about performing too, is being part of a great company and whatever they give to you, you bat back
Mhm.
and vice versa. And sometimes you can send something out to them that you think is minuscule, and then they'll bat it back to you, and it will have grown. You know, it's really thrilling and fascinating, and I'm still learning how it works, the machinations of our industry. Both industries, performing and presenting, are fascinating.
Hmm. Well, that goes for social media too. The bit about you sending out something small and it coming out massive. I've seen that firsthand. Jacqueline sending out the message. Can anyone send him a couple of messages to cheer him up? And now
Yeah.
this.
Yes, well, that is a very, very good example, Charlie. You're quite right. Yeah. And it's a wonderful platform for that. You know, at its best, um, social media can be a tremendous force for good,
Yes, it can.
especially with charity, I found. Um,
Definitely.
yeah.
So, what song would you choose to have played every time you walked into a room? Mine would be "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John.
Ah, that's a great choice. Oh, every time.
It would kind of
Oh,
get annoying after the first 5 times.
you know what it would be, I think, because I think it sums me up a bit. Is a beautiful song by Rodgers and Hammerstein, funnily enough, from South Pacific, called Cockeyed Optimist. And it's not as naughty as it sounds. It just it just means somebody that's got a very sunny outlook. And I'll sing a tiny bit for you. Um, uh, when the sky is a bright canary yellow, I forget every cloud I've ever seen. So they call me a cockeyed optimist, immature and incurably green. So it's about somebody that, in spite of seeing little bits of misdemeanor about them and grey clouds occasionally, and they manage to keep the glass half full because they spot even more about them that's lovely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, do you still get told off for something in particular? Oh, by the way, I should have told you by now. We're moving on to the funny questions. Woo woo!
Oh, wow.
Very sorry I didn't
Okay.
tell you.
Oh, well, I'm braced to be tickled then.
So, do you still get get told off for something in particular, mine is I never stop talking or singing or asking random questions that have zero answers.
Oh, what do I get
Oh no,
told?
they do have one answer. I don't know. That's the only answer for them.
What do I get told off for? I Oh, well, I think probably my most annoying habit is sometimes I can stop mid-sentence, sometimes mine or sometimes a friend's, to pick apart the etymology of a word. I think it's very annoying. Very, very annoying. Like I did with testicle before. There was no reason to go into that.
But it was very interesting.
Oh, good. Well, I'm pleased. I'm very pleased about
Yes,
that.
it's
Sometimes
very.
it's interesting, sometimes it's a crashing bore.
No, I like words. I find them very interesting.
Oh, good. I'm glad, Charlie. What do you have a favorite word?
Ooh, oh, that's something I've never been asked before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Favorite word is in meaning, or favorite word is in like the way it rolls off the tongue.
Oh, gosh. I think probably the latter, which is the most delicious to say, in your opinion.
Oh,
You're a performer.
came up with this the other day. Well, I remember the exact one that I hate saying. It's just
Oh,
a word
really?
that's yeah, so, like curd or curdles. I don't know why. It's just it or like
Yes,
my
because it
blood
makes your stomach
curdles.
curdle when you say it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't
Yeah.
find it a nice word.
No.
But I think this is kind of weird, but a word that has a nice ring to it is probably ring. It's quite nice to roll off
Yes,
the
you're
tongue.
right. It's what they call onomatopoeia. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
that word, when
Yeah,
a word sounds a bit like what it is, like
yeah,
knock or ring.
yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely word.
Yeah. So I know you are pretty perfect, but what's your most disgusting habit that no one until today knows about? And there are some really bad ones coming out, which I love.
Oh gosh, what is it? Well, it's not disgusting exactly, but I don't think many people know it. I always sleep in my birthday suit. Do you know what that means?
Yeah. Oh no, I do that too. I just get too hot in bed.
I know, I get so hot in bed.
Yeah. But then if you have your pajamas on and you take off the quilt and you get too cold.
Yes, but it's not as though I have nothing on. I mean, I have the radio on.
Yeah. So, have you got any embarrassing moments you would much rather forget, but no, you never will? You must have some great red carpet moments or Celebs Go Dating moments,
Oh, oh,
or things that you've witnessed.
oh gosh, really embarrassing. Um, oh, well, I had one in that first play that I did in South Pacific, because
Ooh.
I was fitted with such a discreet little microphone that I completely forgot that it was on. And we did the dress rehearsal, and there was one scene where my sister and I in South Pacific had to come down from our bedrooms, and we were supposed to be in our pajamas, and I had to do it in my other costume because my dad was bringing my pajamas from home, and the curtain came down on the dress rehearsal, and my dad was a teacher at the school, so I started asking some of the older students, does anybody know where my daddy is? I think he's got my pajamas. And little did I know that my mic was on, and everyone that had watched the dress rehearsal could hear me. And suddenly there were gales of laughter from beyond the curtain. I was like, oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. Mortified
Oh,
by that.
oh no. So, who would you most like to cook for, regardless of era? Mine would be William Shakespeare. I think it'd just be really interesting to sit
Oh,
down and have a meal with William Shakespeare.
oh, and he'd be dazzled by your cooking, Charlie, because, all the flavors that you could present him with that he wouldn't have had,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Even sugar was new in his
Yeah.
day. Um,
I could
oh,
literally go. I could literally go buy a homemade spag bowl ready meal and it'd impress him.
oh, yes. Oh,
Like,
gosh, he'd be absolutely potty about it, I'm
considering the
sure.
fact that I literally just got a piece of plastic and put it into a warm-me-up spinny thing.
Yes. Yes. Oh, who would I like to to cook for or just to dine with?
Either. Up to you.
Um, I think oh, you know who I think would be really fun at a supper party is Margaret Rutherford. She was a wonderful actor, Charlie, and she she was very eccentric and she completely believed in ghosts. And one of her most famous roles is playing the medium in Blithe Spirit. And the playwright Noel Coward, I don't know if you know his name,
Yes,
but he
definitely.
wrote the part especially for her.
Huh.
And he sent it to her and she said, I'm sorry, darling Noel, but I'm not going to play this because you're making fun of the medium. Do you know a medium that sort of uses sometimes a Ouija board to get in touch with
Yeah,
ghosts and things?
yeah.
And so she was playing that part and she said, some of my best friends are mediums and I'm not going to make fun of them because I believe in ghosts and I believe in their work. So he rewrote the whole thing. And she was very funny in it, but she was sort of, in a way, the funniness was incidental because she believed what she was saying. Anyway, I
Yeah.
find her fascinating, and she was a staunch liberal, and she was singular and brilliant.
Awesome. So now's for a round of quick fire questions.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna warm up my frontal lobe and get the grey cells dancing. Here we go.
No. Chocolate or Haribo?
Chocolate.
Text or talk?
Talk.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, morning person.
Favorite city?
Oh gosh, London.
Last song downloaded?
Oh, it was Blow Gabriel Blow.
Favorite place to eat?
Oh, Colbert on Sloane Square, right next to the Royal Court. Love.
Ooh, what's that? What is it?
It's like lovely classic French food.
Ooh.
And I love it because if you're going to see a play at the Royal Court, which I highly recommend, it's wonderful. It's right next door, so you can do a roly-poly and you'll be in the theatre. And after I finished at Colbert, it really is a roly-poly.
Well, if you like French food, have you ever been to La Zadelle's?
Oh, I love Zidales and I
I
love
love
the
Zadelle's
cabaret.
so much, and
I bet
especially
you
going
love
to Crazy
Crazy
Cocks.
Cocks. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, Charlie, you're brilliant.
I've
Yes.
performed at Crazy Cocks multiple times now. It's so
Oh, good for
amazing.
you. Good for
Yeah.
you. I bet you
Amazing,
were
and the best part of it isn't even the performing or seeing my surrogate uncle Mark. No, who also edits this video. Thank you, Mark.
Oh,
If you're watching
oh.
this, well, you will be watching this. You're editing it. But no, sorry. The best part is the fact that I get a free meal afterwards.
Oh, God. Well, that's better than a poke in the eye, isn't it?
Yeah, but me, you, and Harriet. Me, you, Harriet, and Gabby will have to go for lunch or dinner.
Oh, I would love it. And I know that they would too. They would
Yeah, that'd be
absolutely adore it.
amazing.
Harriet and I saw Anything Goes last night, Charlie, and I insist you see it. It is superlative. It
We're going
really
to
is.
watch soon. We're going to watch Come From Away, my absolute favorite musical. Yes, I'm going to watch Come From
Oh, isn't
Away,
it
and we're also
terrific?
going to watch a musical that I haven't seen yet. We're going to watch Six too.
Oh, I haven't seen that either, and I long to see that. But I love
Yeah,
Come From Away. And
yeah.
if you can see Anything Goes, because it's a limited run, do because it's
Mm.
just, I mean, it's dazzling. It's dazzling.
Yeah, well, Come From Away, I've interviewed some of the amazing cast members, and I've interviewed Irene Sankoff and David Hine,
Oh, Charlie,
and they were so lovely.
look at you
So
setting a
lovely.
blazing trail. You are quite remarkable, my chum.
Thank you. Favorite superpower?
Oh, well, oh, oh gosh, what would I do? What would I do with a superpower? I know I would have a cynicism eliminator. It doesn't exist at the moment, but I would create it. It would be a zapper that just banished all cynicism out of a person. The second I did
Awesome.
it. like that.
Awesome. First celebrity crush.
Oh gosh, I'm not very good at quickfire, am I? I'm taking a long time to
It's
answer.
fine.
Um, do you know? I think it was probably uh, what was his name? Hunter in Gladiators. When I was
Oh.
very young, I mean, I was about 5. I ought not to have had a crush on him in his spandex then. Don't be.
Now, Harry Potter house.
Oh, I think I'm a bit of a Hufflepuff.
Um, so, the final question for you, I've sort of stopped doing my final questions, which I normally do tongue twisters on, but today I've got a bit of a riddle for you.
Oh, okay.
What word is spelt incorrectly in every dictionary ever printed?
Incorrectly.
Yeah!
I thought you were going to make me look very foolish then, but mercifully, my mind was working in the right vein for once. It's because I did my
Well
crossword this
done!
morning. That's right, Charlie.
Oh, yeah. Well done. Well done. And Tom, thank you so much for doing this interview. It was a pleasure and an honor, truly was.
It was an ineffable pleasure for me too, Charlie. I think you are super.
Oh,
Really super.
thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye, Charlie.
Bye, Tom. Um, so everybody, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And just keep being kind to yourself and others, and keep letting your light shine. And thank you so much for watching to the end. And if you've watched to this point, please put in the comments section kindness. I stand with kindness. All right? I stand with kindness. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Keep being kind.